In this movie, we'll format this third line of point text here, which is the byline. And as we do, I'll show you how to adjust the leading from the keyboard, and we'll also assign a paragraph indent. I've saved my progress as 63.headline.ai. I'm going to double-click inside that final line of type there in order to switch to my type tool, and then I'll triple-click to select that entire line of type. Now I'll press Control-Shift-Alt-F or Command-Shift-Option-F in order to highlight the font option here in the character panel. And I'll type in just AD is all I need to type, but that ends up getting me Adobe Cancel Pro. You may have to type more letters in, or you may have to select a different font if Adobe Cancel Pro is not installed on your system. And then I'll tab to the style value and just tap I in order to assign the italic style. And then I'll press the Tab key in order to advance to the type size value. And I'll go ahead and change this to 34 points like so. And then press the Enter key or the Return key on a Mac in order to apply those changes. You can adjust the leading, which is to say the amount of space between this line and a line above it, by clicking on a leading value in order to highlight that value here inside the character panel, and then you could enter whatever value you want. Or I'll go ahead and press the Escape key. You can adjust the leading from the keyboard. And here's how. If you press Alt up arrow, then you'll reduce the leading value, which is to say you'll move the text upward. And that would be Option up arrow on the Mac. If you press Option down arrow, or here on the PC, Alt down arrow, you'll increase the leading value, which is to say you'll lower the text because you're increasing the amount of room between that line of text and the text above it. And notice we're doing so in increments of 0.5 because that's the increment that I specified in the previous movie. If you want to move 5 times as quickly, then you add the Control or Command key. So Control Alt down arrow will increase the leading value in increments of 2.5 in my case. That's 5 times 0.5. On the Mac, you would press Command Option down arrow to increase that leading. If you want to reduce the leading, then you'd press Control Alt up arrow or Command Option up arrow on the Mac. Anyway, I'm going to take this down just a little bit here. You can see that my leading value is now 54.5, and then I'll press Alt or Option up arrow to reduce it to 54. So ultimately, I want a type size of 34 points and a leading value of 54 points. Now, one word of advice where leading is concerned, you can apply it to just a selected word or even a single character of type, or even if you just have your blinking insertion marker in the line. But I'll go ahead and double click on a word, for example, and let's say I change the leading value to 60 points and press the Enter key or the Return key on the Mac. That's going to move that entire line down, even though if I double click on the word and, it's still set to a leading of 54 points. Essentially, the biggest leading value in the line wins, which is why you probably don't want to mix your leading values. You want to go ahead and select an entire line of type. And notice when I do, I have a blank leading value, and that's because there are multiple leading values at work. So I'll just go ahead and click on that value, set it to 54 again, and press the Enter key or the Return key on the Mac. All right, now I'm going to hide that character panel for a moment. Let's say I want to move this text to the right because I want it right aligned with the headline text above it. Well, you might figure the way to do that is to change your alignment. Right now, if I go up to the far right side of the control panel, I can see that the align left icon is active, but I could switch it to align right. Here's the problem. If I was working inside of a text frame, that would work brilliantly. That would be fine. But because I'm working with point text, as soon as I click align right, that goes ahead and sends the text to the left of the anchor point that's associated with the point text. So in other words, you're always aligning to the anchor point. And I will mention in passing that each one of these guys, align left, align center, and align right, they all have very easy to remember keyboard shortcuts. It's just Control-Shift or Command-Shift with the letter that goes with the alignment. So for example, for center, it'd be Control-Shift-C or Command-Shift-C on the Mac. For right, it would be Control-Shift-R or Command-Shift-R on a Mac. And for align left, which is what we want, it's Control-Shift-L or Command-Shift-L on a Mac. Instead, what we need to do is indent this text to the right. And I'll do that by clicking on the word paragraph up here in the control panel to bring up the paragraph panel. And notice that this very first value is the left indent value. It's an indent that you add to the left side of the text. And I just happen to know I want that value to be set to 52 points. And as soon as I enter 52 and press the Tab key, then I go ahead and indent that text to the right. And that will, once we're done formatting the headline, that will ensure that we have a nice consistent right alignment between the headline and that byline. All right, so that's how you work with leading and paragraph indent here inside of Illustrator. In the next movie, I'll show you how to work with kerning and tracking.